it's me, your Void, and I'm actually trying my hands at a yearly thing this time. Welcome back to Bookmas, you know, the glorious event that I thought I put upon myself. And today we are talking personal buzzword bingo board shenanigans, which is an idea I 100% stole from Kirsty from K-Beth Bookish. Thank you for that. And the whole thing is that basically you figure out what are your buzzwords and you put them on a bingo board, and then you try to read for these buzzwords throughout the year and get a bingo or something. I don't know. And she put on some anti-buzzwords, so basically like tropes and shit that she really doesn't like, and I did the same. So that is why we are gathered here today to talk about the things I like and the things I don't like in books. I have my handy dandy bingo board right here for me. I'm probably just going to put up a graphic for you up there because the cameras and zooms and angles and shit, right? But if you see me look off screen, I'm not building a Lego set, I'm checking the paperwork! So first up, I have no idea why I made this a 5x6 bingo board. Don't at me, I just did. Also, we are going to glance over some of the weird formatting, because I thought I fixed everything, and apparently I didn't. Anyway, let's talk about the weird prompt thingamathing things, right? So first up, we have the 1920s setting. I have now learned that I actually kind of like stories set in the 1920s. I always kind of liked the aesthetic when it was like happening in movies. I liked the music that came out of the 1920s, and apparently in books, the setting continues to be interesting. I don't think I own a single unread book that takes place in the 20s, so that might be a problem. But I have a whole year to fulfill this challenge. So what would be some examples of 1920 settings? The City of Carnal Delight by Chloe Parker is a 1920s novel. The Will Darling Adventures by K.J. Charles are taking place in the 20s, and you can see like the aesthetic of it all. And I hold up the covers, like you can, that one specifically, it's so cool. So that whole thing is something I am very much interested in, or at least I kind of like it when that happens in books. I don't think I can reach any other book right this second. So moving on to the thing that of course has to be on here, it's vampires. Vampires! If you have been around my channel for a hot second, you know that I like myself a good vampire story, and of course it is on here, and I have a bunch of unread stuff. Like, I think The Mistress of Lies is, I think, a vampire thing, or at least blood magic. I have Burial Bones in a Midnight Soul by V.E. Schwab. I still have not read that. Silver Under Nightfall is a vampire story. I have some vampire books I can read and then desperately need reading. So fulfilling the vampire prompt is going to be easy. The first anti-buzzword I really don't like is travel. I hate extended travel in books because most of the time it is the most boring thing that can happen in a book. John Gwynne, the second book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. This is an 800-page road trip, and I hated every second of it. I hated every second of it. And this book is actually the book that made me put travel on this bingo board. That is how much I hate it. Like, I always kind of hated it when it happens, but Valdor made me actively despise it. There is one book that made travel interesting, and only because A, something very important happened while they were traveling, and B, most of the travel was cut out of the whole travel sequence, except the important bits. I don't think I have a book that specifically states that people are going to travel everywhere all the time, so this is probably going to be one of those squares that I have to knock off when I just stumble upon a book that features so much traveling. Maybe I read a travel guide if all else fails, I don't know. Then we have another favorite, Monster Romance. If you have been around my channel for a hot second, you know that one of my favorite authors is Cleo Evans, the deity of monster romances, and I read a lot of them, so I don't think it's going to be very hard to fulfill that. I mean, I'm literally trying to read some this month, so that's going to be easy. Next up is Gothic. Somehow, I think this is like one of those prompts that everyone fell in love with this year specifically for some reason. But it's just a nice aesthetic, right? It's just, we are all pining for a good atmospheric read, and that's literally a staple of the genre of Gothic. I mean, I have one of my favorite books is The Spirit Bears Its Teeth, which is a Gothic novel. What else do I have? I mean, yeah, City of Carnal Delight. amazing, in her thrall, same thing. I have a bunch of books that really lean into that. Like, I still have to read Foxglove by Edelyn Grace, which is the second book in the Belladonna trilogy, which is a gothic new adult thing. I think I have a Katie Roberts that is vampires and gothic and stuff like that. City of Dusk is very kind of gothic aesthetic. What Moves the Dead, like, I have a bunch of books that fit that one. Next up is War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Except for entertainment in books. I mean, we all know one of my favorite book series is the Powder Mage trilogy by Brian McClellan, and that is all about war, because that's how Flintlock fantasy works. And I have a bunch of fantasy books that feature war. Like, Lightbringer series by Wendt Weeks is currently in an active war in book 3. The Bone Ships is a battle about the dragon, who can claim the dragon. Pretty sure Jade City is war, right? I don't know. Grace of Kings features of war, I believe. And if all else fails, I'm just going to reread the Powder Mage novels, because yeah, I do that from time to time. So that's the first line. The second line is body horror. I love myself a little fucked up shit. The human body is so complicated and so grotesque on its own, and I'm putting a horror spin on it by just breaking it apart piece by piece. I love that shit. Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White is one of those. Botanical Daughter could be classified as body horror, kind of. I just love when someone breaks something that is already so complex, like the human body, down and bends it to their whim. It's just, yes, I live for that shit. Then we have the first of multiple author squares on this bingo board with Brian McClellan. He's the love of my life. So, like, the problem I'm having with this is I don't really have unread books by him. I do know he has a urban fantasy duology for ebooks, like only as ebooks out, I think. And there is 2 novellas as of filming this video. One is already out, the other one is just wrapping up its Kickstarter. So there are 2 novellas I can technically pick up. But I'm kind of manifesting him finally publishing book 2 in the Glass Immortal series, because it's been a while and I need that. So either he's publishing that one in 2026 and I'm going to read it, or I'm going to reread the first book in the Glass Immortal series. You can see it like right there, as me manifesting that book actually happening. Like, I know draft 2 is done. Like, I know he has done a round of edits. I stalk that man on social media, and he doesn't post often, but when he does, I download that knowledge straight into my brain, because gimme. And I just now realize, A, this is one of those weird formatting mistakes, and B, the next prompt is kind of dumb as, like, placed right next to Brian McClellan, because it's Flintlock fantasy. For the uninitiated, Flintlock fantasy is my favorite subgenre of fantasy, and there is exactly one person who is writing Flintlock fantasy, and that's Brian McClellan. Django Wexler does write some Flintlock fantasy. There is the whole Shadow Campaign book series with 5 books, I believe, that is also Flintlock fantasy, and technically the second Mistborn era is also Flintlock fantasy, but that's not, that's out of the question. So I am hungry for good Flintlock fantasy. I recently had an argument on TikTok in the comments of a video where someone tried to tell me that Shadow and Bone is Flintlock fantasy, which, no, just because you have guns and magic in the same setting doesn't make it Flintlock fantasy. It is a prerequisite, because you kind of need gunpowder and guns, you know, like flintlock pistols, to make the genre work, and you need fantasy elements, you know? Flintlocks and fantasy, Flintlock fantasy, makes sense. But just because there are guns does not mean the book is a Flintlock fantasy. There are more staples to the genre. Maybe I make a video about explaining Flintlock fantasy because no one knows about it and I need more people to know about it because it's such a great genre. So let me know if you want me breaking down Flintlock fantasy in detail, I guess. Let's drive that engagement rate up, eh? So yeah, I have the Flintlock fantasy bingo thingamathing thing on this board, which may or may not be a problem given that there is there's not a lot of true Flintlock fantasy out there, and I have read most of it already because it is my favorite subgenre. So this might be a bit hard. Maybe I just reread something. Who knows? The next horrible thing I really hate when it comes up in books is extensive food descriptions. I studied cultural anthropology. I do know that a lot of cultures define themselves via the food they eat and how they eat their food. Food culture is a thing. I know that. I also know that using food is a very strong thing to do when you want to build a world. World building via food is just a universal thing everyone can understand because all humans eat. So you can tell a lot about a character, about a group of people, about a culture, about a world via food. But I hate food descriptions because it's giving me nothing. It's giving me absolutely nothing. That might be a me problem, because when you tell me how something smells, on a logical level, I know how something smells, but I don't smell the smell. And it's the same with taste. If you tell me something tastes like that, on a logical level, I know that, but I don't taste it. So giving me a food description and it's like, oh, this lush, fresh. No, it doesn't do anything for me. It does not do anything for me. It doesn't make me hungry. It doesn't make me want to have that. No, it just doesn't do anything for me. And 99% of the time, the food description is just there as a substitute for world building. It is a filler paragraph of things that are on a table that are then subsequently completely ignored by the characters because the food serves no purpose. I have yet to meet a food description that is actually interesting, not just because I want to eat it, but because it actually fulfills this whole building a culture thing. Food descriptions just don't do it for me. And you can tell when an author is a foodie because there will be more food descriptions for even less reason. And I hate food descriptions. This one is another one of those squares that I have to tick off while I'm just reading things, because I don't want to read a cookbook, okay? I don't want to read a cookbook. The next square is an easy square. It's queer, and I mean, have you met me? Have you met me? Like, seriously, have you seen any of my videos before? Have you met me? Do you see the things I am reading? Use your eyes. Perceive. Like, that's going to be very easy. Andrew Joseph White, on the other hand, not that easy, because I already read his 3 YA books that are out, so the only thing I can read at the moment of filming this video is You Were Not Meant to Be Human, which I don't currently own. I plan on changing that, but I don't currently own it, and that is more or less the only option I have for this square. Now, he is writing another YA horror, but I don't think that's coming out next year. So then we have competitions, and competitions I think should be red square. I don't know. I'm very 50-50 about competitions. Sometimes they are great. Sometimes I hate them. I hate them when they are just there to give us some kind of plot. Darker Shade of Magic book 2. The whole plot was this stupid avatar battle between characters, and it did absolutely nothing for me. And Wicked Beauty by Katie Roberts. The competition actually was just the background so that we have a reason to get the characters together, but that's mostly what competitions do. It's showing off the cool magic system the author came up with and force the characters to be together and face off with each other. I do not like competitions. Why did I not color this in red? Competitions can be cool, but 90% of the time it's just boring because the author didn't know what else to do with these characters, and it's a competition plot. Next up is stories about stories. I love that one. I love when a book is a story and the main thing of the story is stories. Telling stories, following stories, writing stories, just stories. Stories about stories are just my thing. I loved The Starless Sea, which is like stories within stories within stories. I loved The Library of the Unwritten, which is about unfinished stories. I just love that shit. I eat that shit up so much. There's just something about it when you have like this meta view on storytelling. It's just, yes. The next one is a romance prompt, which is the dominant character falls first. Commonly used as he falls first, but given that I read a bunch of queer stories, the he-him might not always apply, and I like it when the strong, dominant character suddenly turns into a slobbering puppy because of the other person or the other people, depending on what kind of romance you're reading. I just love it when these strong, burly leader characters just turn into tiny little people who just want to cuddle. I eat that shit up, and I can't tell you why. Something that should actually pair well with the stories about stories is poetic writing. Purple prose is a slippery slope. It can be too much. It can be annoying, and it's a very easy state to achieve. But on the other hand, when it works out, it's just so good. The Starless Sea, again, so good. V.E. Schwab does it gloriously. Like The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue. Not a lot was happening in that book, but oh my god, the writing to die for. That is what I'm going for. V. Schwab is a master in that. It's like The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue did it. Parts of the Darker Shade of Magic series are doing it. This Savage Song in Our Dark Duet. Good shit. Poetic writing done right is just so good. Ooh, this is the first thing I really hated about reading. That's Fae. I hate Fae romances with a passion because the Fae are not supposed to be your typical Lord of the Ring elves. Have you ever read any mythological source about the Fae? Like, every single Fae romance is just like, someone was kidnapped into the Fae realm and there's a courts and stuff. No, the Fae are fucking monsters. There's a reason people are scared of the Fae. I need people to realize that they are not all Legolas. Get your shit together. Fae romances are so boring. I hate them. Anyone has a Fae horror recommendation? Gimme. I need that. I need that shit. Like, Fae. It's also such an oversaturated market. Like, at least make them scary and interesting and not just your dark, tall, and handsome boyfriend again. Ugh. Next thing I like is space! Space! I love space. Space is big and beautiful and brutal, but still so fucking pretty. Every time we get a new picture from our telescopes out there, I'm sitting staring at my screen in awe. I recently had a little existential moment where I was just standing in the middle of a sidewalk staring at the sky in broad daylight and the moon was still visible, and I just looked at the moon and it was like, you're just out there. We can fit the rest of our solar system between me and you just hang out there. And I thought that was beautiful. I could see a piece of space. I also like staring at the stars. It's just, space is just such a beautiful place and I love it, and I need more books that just take place in space because I need that in my life. That is just, I love space, okay? I love space. Remember how I said I have a bunch of Diane Bryn books that I need to read for the vampire prompt? Well, I might also read them for the Diane Bryn prompt because I have Diane Bryn as an author square on this because everything I read from them, yeah, good shit. It's good shit. It's solid writing. It's good shit. And I have a bunch of books from them. You can't see them, it's like right down there. I own 2 more books to read from them, and the next one in the the Guide to Dating Vampire series is also out. I helped with the cover reveal. And there's also some mermaid shenanigans that they have in their backlog, so easy to fulfill prompt. The next thing I hate is school settings. I hate school settings. I hated school settings from the get-go. I hated my own school setting. I hate it in books because it is, again, just such a boring thing to do in order to get the characters together. It's not just school. It's 90% of the time it's also a boarding school so that the people live together. And I'm like, okay, but why can't they just be neighbors? Like, why do you need to send them to school? And why do we have to make school a drama thing? That might just be me having aged out of YA novels for the most part, but I hate school settings. I hate school settings because it doesn't do anything. It just doesn't do anything for me. It's just such a boring background. You can do better than the school setting. The next square I kind of need to explain a little bit because it just says death on it. And I don't mean characters dying. I mean death as a person. I mean gods of death. I mean a personification of death in any kind of way. Because I think that is such a cool concept to play with, to turn this inevitable force into a person or a personification of some kind. That is just something that humans are so creative with when it comes to like imagining things. I'm a huge fan of the very short-lived art movement of the Dance with Death. You know, where you see all these dancing skeletons. That was a full-ass art movement. It sadly didn't live long, I guess, pun intended, but all of these pictures are just doing something for me, and every time I read a book that has death as a character in it in one way or another, it's just, it does something for me, you know? I don't know, I'm just fascinated by death as a concept, I guess. It doesn't scare me, it's just very, very interesting, because it's like the most human thing you can experience. you know? Because everyone will die. It's inevitable. Everyone will die. And there's just something about that. Then we have thieves and heists. I love thieves and heists because most of the time it's just the whole story concept of you make a plan, you execute a plan, you expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan. You know that one? That always happens in thief and heist stories, and that just makes for such an entertaining story in my opinion. I mean, you don't even need to look to fiction for that. Remember the Louvre? That shit was hilarious! Like, you don't even need fiction to write that. It's just 3 guys pretending to be a working crew break into the Louvre, steal a bunch of shit, and walk out. And then they disappear on e-scooters. What? I need someone to make this a movie. Like yesterday. I love that shit. I love that shit. I have so many books with thieves and or heists in them. It's just good, entertaining stuff. It's a very basic story structure, but it works every single time. We return to the horror genre with plant horror. I am a proud plant parent. I have raised multiple pothos and snake plants, and I am very proud of my ever-growing Monstera. You can't see her, but she's like right next to you. I love her. And she is amazing, and she's turning towards the sun every time I turn her, and I think that is beautiful. And there is just something about the idea of plants hijacking the human body. Also mushrooms. I know they are not plants, but mushroom horror? Yes. Just something about nature reclaiming things and nature specifically attacking and taking over the most invasive species on the planet. It's just so good. Like nature's revenge. Yes. I need more of that. The next and final author square on this whole thing, it's not even a square, it's a rectangle. Anyway, is V.E. Schwab, because I love everything that V.E. Schwab does. I have yet to read a book that I 100% hate by V.E. Schwab, and yeah, there is a thriller coming out which she co-authored with a friend of hers, and she just handed in the final edits for Victorious, and I believe there is a third project, a third like unnamed project that she's writing on, and the second one in the Threads of Power series, and I could go on and on and on because she has an output and a half, okay? So V.E. Schwab is going to be very easy to fulfill. Again, I have Burial Bones in the Midnight Soil still left to read, but I'm also not above rereading stuff by her because, yeah, I just love everything she touches. The final row starts with the prompt for gods. I love it when we have gods in a setting, and not only is it a thought-out religion surrounding them, but they fuck around with the mortals. Not necessarily literally, but like, I just love when the gods meddle. I just love when you have gods, and they see the mortals, and they think, I can make this worse. Or even better yet, they think I can make it better, and then everything blows up in their face. I love stories where the gods meddle. Yes, I need more of that. Then we have polyromances, again, career reading. I love it when there is multiple partners involved, and not only why choose. I'm not talking about your typical why choose where she gets all the guys. No. I mean she gets all the guys, but all the guys also get all of the guys and her, and like just in general, everyone loves everyone. Yes, I need people to love each other. From serial daters, we go to serial killers, and that has to be the worst transition I've ever made. But here we are. I love stories about serial killers. I love stories with serial killers. Butcher and Blackbird, Leather and Lorik. Brilliant books. One of my favorite book series is by Ethan Cross, the Shepherd series, where we have a serial killer main character who is just doing his thing. Another one would be the Gretchen Lowell series by Chelsea Kane. Again, we have a serial killer. She is so fucked up and she's just amazing. I love her. So I need more books with serial killers, specifically serial killer main characters, because yes. And we have another setting. This time it's the Victorian setting, because the Victorian setting is just really, really cool. And I think the real challenge of this board is going to be find a Gothic book that is not also a Victorian setting. I think that is going to be the hard part, because most Gothic books, be it a romance, be it a horror, whatever, take advantage of a Victorian setting, because most Victorian settings usually come with a pre-installed Gothic vibe setting. You get the Atmosphere DLC for free. Next up we have sassy characters, because who doesn't like a good sass queen? Literally, my favorite challenge in the RuPaul Drag Race, my favorite mini challenge is when the library is open and they get to read each other for filth. I love myself a sass queen. Just like a snarky comment here and there without much effort about thinking about it and just landing. Yes. that is a vibe I want. That is a vibe I love. Yes, I want to be that when I grow up. And the final thing I hate about books would be the sports romance, because I am not someone who likes to watch a lot of sports. I don't get the hype about Formula One. It's just watching cars drive. I don't get the hype about football. I'm not talking about American football. I'm talking about football that you actually play with your feet. Americans know it as soccer, because that's just 20 people running after a ball. American football is not much better, just that you don't play it with your feet and the ball is not round. Like, it's also just a bunch of people running after a ball and occasionally just ramming their heads together like they're male sheep. I don't know. Sports romances just don't do it for me. I'm actually rating, like, given the different eras of sports romance, where we had, it started with ice hockey, then we had rodeos, like cowboys and rodeo specifically, and then it flipped to those Formula One romances. I'm waiting for the day that people discover rugby. I'm waiting for the day that the girlies discover rugby, because I can see that being the next big romance-landia era. I'm calling it now. Rugby is the next big thing. But yeah, I'm just not interested in a sports romance. I mean, up until February, I wasn't interested in contemporary romance at all. Okay, and now things changed. So maybe I'm reading a sports romance that's actually interesting, but I just don't think sport is that interesting. It's not that deep. It's really not that deep. And there you have it. That is, oh god, math. 5 times 6, 30, I believe. 30 different prompts I want to read at least one book off by the end of this year. Well, not the end of this year, because that would be ridiculous. It's like only 2 weeks left. No, this is, like, this time next year, I want to have a full bingo board of that. So that is, what, 30 books? If I did the math right, I don't know. I'm too gay to do math. And yeah, but I'm trying to get like a whole thing. I'm not actively shooting for it. Maybe I say that knowing full well that I like a competition. Well, myself, I like to beat myself in things. I don't like to read about competitions, as I've established before. Maybe that's why I didn't color it in red, because I'm a competitive bitch. This video is getting way too long. My brain is actively melting out of my ears. So yes, let's wrap this up, shall we? I try to fill out this whole thing by this time next year. I guess you have to stick around in order to figure out if I actually do it. And yeah, if you made it to the end of this video, let me know what your buzzwords are, what your anti-buzzwords are. Like, what do you really hate about a book? Like, let's just have a hate train going on here. If you have any suggestions for my anti-buzzwords, please let me know. Please. I am very willing to change my opinion on things. Just, I need evidence to do that. Okay? But yeah, if you don't want to talk to me at all, leave a... I don't know. What's a good emoji? Bingo. Is there a bingo emoji? Like the thing where they pull out the... What's that? Ping pong balls for that? I don't know. Leave a Ferris wheel emoji in the comments down below, I guess. That is so weird. There's like no association with it. Anyway, leave a Ferris wheel down in the comments below if you don't want to talk to me. And yeah, I guess I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.